Today, we're joined by Rob Murray. He is the co-founder of Intrigue Media, a marketing agency servicing landscape professionals, landscape companies like ours in the industry. So, Rob, I am privileged to have you on the show here. We've actually had Mark Morrison, a good buddy of mine, on the show, I guess, promoting or being a part of Intrigue back then and talking about the A clients. And that was a great conversation. So, Rob, it's great to actually have the co-founder of Intrigue Media on the show here today.
Well, thanks, Michael. Pumped to be a part of it, man. I know we heard about your podcast when Mark had the chance to do it, many moons ago. So pumped to be part of it.
Yeah, and that was back in 2020. So it's about time we have somebody back on from Intrigue. But Rob, give us a little bit of context about you yourself for our audience, and especially with Intrigue Media. Take it wherever you want and wherever you want, but give us a little bit of context about you and Intrigue Media and how that all began.
Yeah, for sure. So myself and Paul DeMarco founded the company in 2007, and we started off the business as a digital out-of-home advertising company. So we put up flat screen TVs in like high traffic local locations like restaurants, bars, hair salons, gyms, that type of stuff. Medical centers and government offices. And as we built our customer base as an alternative to, say, the local newspaper or radio station, people kept asking us when we were going to start building websites. And then they started asking us, how do you get to the top of Google? What's this Facebook stuff all about? Should I be using email marketing? And so the client base from that business, drew us into online marketing. And so in 2011, we started helping people with those services. And then fast forward to 2019, we started really niching down into the home improvement and construction space. And we really found that's where we were bringing the most value for clients. We were helping people make a lot of money. Our team knew how to do it. And then as we got more narrow, we found a massive win in helping landscape entrepreneurs, usually between, say, 2 and 5 million. We help some people grow from under a million but wheelhouse probably 2 to 5 million, getting to 10. And then, we've just started to really focus in on it. It turns out the whole green industry is actually a ton of fun. The entrepreneurs in the space are amazing. We haven't seen an industry so cooperative, like how open everybody is, sharing best practices and the challenges that they're facing, even if they're in the same community. So it's been a blast helping them. And then, for the entire time we've been doing this, almost better part of 17 years, all of our clients say, well, how do I know this works? How do I know you're worth what we pay? So we've put a massive focus on transparency with regard to what's being done and the results being generated, and helping people actually like accomplish business objectives, not just, have pretty things that people see a lot. So that's why we're a results first kind of company. Our brand promise is results first. We're always there. And we do what we say or you don't pay. And that's led to designing a company that keeps clients around for a long time, which is great.
Okay, so you yourself as a marketing agency, you've got a wheelhouse 2 to 5 million there for businesses, just like landscape companies kind of find their wheelhouse and stick to it or kind of branch outside of it depending on the project. What determines that, or what has determined that 2 to 5 million is that wheelhouse for you? What is it about the companies in that that you're able to scale them higher, and or perhaps what is it about those companies that are lower in that revenue mark that don't make it a great fit for Intrigue?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, a lot of times under a million, owners are in the truck still. They're out in the field. They're doing too much and they haven't built enough revenue to get a team going. You get to a 1.5 million, you need like a key person at least, maybe a couple of supervisors. You get over 2.5. Now you got a probably somewhat of a leadership team established. You still might be selling, but probably off the tools. And you're starting to invest in people and systems. Our purpose as an organization is empowering leaders to strengthen communities. And we find that entrepreneurs that can get over 1.5 million, 2 million, they really start to trust their team and they really start to become better leaders. And so we're not necessarily in the business of building leaders as much as there is a passion of ours to do so. So we look for people that are established leaders looking to really kind of take it to the next level. And that's where we kind of step in and help people scale. It's easier to scale from 2.5, 3 million to 10 than it is from, say, 600,000 to 2, just because the mindset's actually quite similar. It's more about, making sure you're getting the right jobs, and you get, good margins so that you can keep reinvesting in the company while you pay yourself. So that's kind of long story short in terms of why that's the wheelhouse.
And it's interesting because like you can hear like your core values helping the local community, likely also directing the way you hire, but also coming into clients as well that you serve there.
Big time.
Perhaps a topic we could get into in the future, just talking about business ownership. But that's really interesting to hear you talk about that there.
Cool. Yeah, we have a whole workshop called Growth on Purpose, and it's how to use purpose, vision, and values to build an organization that doesn't depend on you anymore. And but that's like a 3-4 hour workshop. We could probably do an hour podcast on it as a separate piece, but it definitely lends its part. And so in the model, part of it is about how to attract great clients or A clients, like you talked about with Mark, and the other part is how to attract a team, and then building world-class customer experiences by having customers and team members come to the organization because they believe in the purpose and the values and the vision of the company. Because then when they work together, they actually enjoy working together. So then mostly what we've been doing recently is help people understand how to focus on customer acquisition and expansion of current customer base.
Okay, so how important is establishing core values to those 2 to 5 million companies, especially to directing what their ads are going to look like if you're doing paid ads, or what their website is going to look like? Is that like top priority before you kind of get down to the nitty gritty and strategy for them?
Customer acquisition can be done without good core values in place. Having a team that runs well without core values in place, from my perspective, is very difficult. So if you get a lot of good customers and you don't have a good team to support them, then it kind of falls flat. And so one of our views, which we kind of work with clients implicitly, is that the owner's customer is actually the team. The team's customers are the customer. And so a lot of times owners forget that they need to focus on making sure the team's got everything they need to be successful, because if they got everything they need, then the clients are going to be feeling it. So long story short, you can acquire a lot of good customers without having good core values in place. You just probably lose them out the back door because the team isn't set up for success.
Got it. Okay. Back on track here. Talking about websites and actually let's start with this. Let's start with marketers, because especially for me, I get reached out to not only just having a business owner account somewhere like a Gmail, as well as a Google My Business account. I get calls all the time throughout the season of people asking if saying that they're Google and wanting to get me to the top of Google
Right.
or anything like that. But also just having this podcast, I get quite a few marketers, and it seems like everybody these days is with a website or with a laptop is a marketer. So how do I, as and no shots fired there,
No,
particularly
it's all good. There's
anybody,
snake oil all over the industry.
and that's in any business too, right? Or any industry as well too. It just seems like marketing is high up there based on the lack of overhead in it and everything like that. But how do I determine, as a starting out business owner, especially, to like know whether or not this person is legit and what their strategy is going to help me to bring in more leads into my business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Michael, I appreciate you bringing it up. When we do our talks, the deal with the audience is that we're going to help them hold marketers, whether it's internal or external, to a higher standard. And so the question, well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing is you need to be informed of what it should look like. A marketer worth their salt will provide a goal based on an outcome, a business outcome. So a lot of proposals I've seen from other companies are like, we'll send out emails, we'll deliver ads, we'll update your website, which is great. But if it's not trying to accomplish a goal, which in most cases for service companies is going to be qualified lead generation. So, we talk about revenue model optimization, and especially in landscaping, you get 10 leads that come through the door. Odds are 5 of them are qualified. Qualified means they have the money to do the service that you provide. So they fit. They're not asking you to do something you don't do, and they have the budget. So out of 5 leads, let's say, that are qualified, you end up with 40% conversion rate. So 2 of them turn into customers. Those customers average sale, let's say it's 50 grand, and then you got your gross margin. Then there's frequency of sale and lifetime value of the customer as other parts of the model. But what a good marketer should be doing is focusing on the top 2. So how do we make it so that we're getting either more leads or better quality leads and qualified leads, and measuring it very transparently? Whereas, and they should be able to predict it within 90% accuracy. The days are gone where it's like, I don't wish I had a crystal ball. Like, no, we have crystal balls. And let me just walk you through what a crystal ball looks like when it comes to marketing. So if you do well, in your case, hardscaping, right? So you're, let's say, retaining walls, just as an example. Okay. Um, we build a landing page for retaining walls. We build a Google ad campaign, and the landing page is optimized for search. It's well as optimized for paid search. So it does both. Paid search and SEO actually overlap quite a bit in terms of best practice. Then we run an ad for retaining walls in your area, and then somebody searches for a retaining wall. They click on the ad that says retaining walls. They end up on a landing page that's about retaining walls, which has badges of trust. So things like the association you're part of, awards you've won, certifications your team has. There's customer testimonials. There's explanations about the process in terms of what it looks like to work with you. So there's clarity created. And then there's a very easy to fill out form to submit, to get a quote. And in that form, the less fields or less questions you ask, the more leads you get, and the more unqualified they are. The more questions you ask and require from somebody, the less leads you get and the more qualified they become. Now, a landing page should convert around 3 to 5%. That's like decent for a landing page. So out of 100 visitors, let's say you get 5 inquiries. Now, with paid search, you can actually predict what the cost per click is going to be to get somebody to your retaining wall page. Retaining wall cost per click can be anywhere between, say, $5 and $10. Sometimes it can be more competitive and less competitive, but say $5 to $10. And for the sake of the argument, let's say $10. So it's going to cost me $1,000 to get 100 people there. It's going to cost me $2,000 to get 200 people there. If I get 2,000 people to my page, I get 10 inquiries. Or sorry, 200 people to my page for $2,000. I get 10 inquiries. If 5 of them are qualified and 2 of them turn into projects, I can see for $2,000, I'm buying 2 clients. That's relatively predictable.
Right.
If a landing page is converting the way it's supposed to, and for everybody listening to this, your website should convert at 3% or better. Landing pages should convert at 5% or better. Of the traffic that comes through, they get an inquiry. An inquiry is a phone call or a form submission. If I know what the cost per click is, I know what money you need to spend in order to get leads.
Right.
Now it's just a matter of, are the leads qualified and are you closing them with your sales process? It's predictable. Anybody who says otherwise isn't educated.
Mm, gotcha.
So you tell
Is
me you have $50,000 budget, and I say, well, your cost per lead is going to be, let's say, $250. I can get you 200 leads.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Makes sense. Is that data somewhat skewed over, I would say, like the surge in demand that especially our industry or other home service industries experience in the last 3 years before this? Or is this like data that you kind of accumulated over many years that you're able to say, like, no, even based on that surge in demand where you may have a bump in qualified customers, we're still at that sort of that conversion rate for qualified leads?
Yeah, I mean, the qualified leads and the conversion rate, so like 50% of leads are qualified and 40% of those qualified leads turn into customers. That is questionable based on the geography and the business that they're
Right.
in, but it's still a good, starting point in terms of
Yeah.
benchmarking. The What we saw happen in 2020 and 21 was the cost per lead for a retaining wall was like $70. It was cheap. It was really, really easy to get. Now it's like 250. So
Gotcha.
all of the math still works. It's just getting more expensive. And we're expecting 2024 to be more expensive than 2023.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So just less supply out there, so the demand in ads actually go up and that increases the price essentially.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, it's less demand right now from the public.
Right.
So
Sorry.
consumer demand has gone down, and competition's actually gone up because a lot of low price competitors entered the market when things were good. So we call it chuck in a truck. And they're doing some ads on their own. So there's more people actually playing in the space. There's less people looking for it, and so you know it's getting more expensive to get good leads through the door.
Let's talk about paid ads then. Is what are some good best practices or things that you've seen that you shouldn't do when it comes to a Facebook ad and also maybe even like a Google ad? Or maybe we'll touch on Google ads when we talk about SEO, because you also said paid search. SEO best practices kind of overlap there.
Yeah.
So let's focus on Facebook ads. What are some best practices and common mistakes that you typically see of people just launching an ad and getting it out there?
Yeah, so that's the biggest mistake, is just launching an ad and getting it out there. So one of the things that we help people understand is, if you simplify a decision-making process or a buyer's journey into three stages: tofu, mofu, and bofu. So top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel is somebody, it's in a marketplace that's addressed they have a problem. So, I have a big ass puddle in my backyard every year. I have a problem. I'm researching the problem. Why do I have a giant puddle? What's going on? How do you do drainage? Middle of the funnel is like, I want to find a solution. How do I get rid of this puddle? Should I do it myself? Should I hire somebody? What would it take for me to do it myself? How much does it cost to get someone else to do it? That's middle of the funnel content. Then bottom of the funnel is, I want to hire somebody. I want to buy. I'm either going to buy the aggregate, or I'm going to buy the things myself, or I'm going to hire someone to do it. The biggest mistake we find is that people don't have enough budget. So like, landscapers typically spend 1% of their marketing budget, or 1% of their budget on marketing, which is insanely low. 3% is better, is 3% from our perspective is healthy. So on $1 million revenue, you're looking at $30,000 in marketing budget a year. Now, with the caveat that it's a return on investment, and you should expect 3 to 1 or better gross margin return on investment. So if you invest
Yeah.
30 grand, you should be getting 90 to $100,000 in gross margin as a decent outcome, right? So you spent 30, you made 100. Like, that's, not bad ROI, not revenue, gross
Yeah.
margin. So the other thing that in this whole idea is that, if you only have $30,000 and you're going to put, let's say, 2 grand a month into Google ads, or you put $1,000 in Google ads and $1,000 into Facebook ads or Meta ads, the issue that we see is that your ads aren't showing up enough in search. And Google, by definition, is where people look to buy. People don't look to buy on Instagram and Facebook. Now, there's a caveat, because consumer goods actually do sell well on those platforms, but professional services don't sell as easily. So, the average sale of 50 grand, it's rare that someone's going to go to Facebook or Instagram and look for a vendor. Now,
Mm.
people do go look online via Google and then go to a website, and then we see them go to social pages to just like check out the company. What's the culture like? What are their projects like? When was the last time they made a post? Was it from 3 years ago, or was it from 3 days ago? Are they still around? So there's a lot of merit in keeping those social channels relevant and timely. But if you look at a cost per lead straight up, Google search beats out Meta like 10 times out of 10 when it comes to professional services. Now, if you are a $5 million company and you're going to put $100,000, 2% into a marketing budget, maybe 60 of it is going after search, and then 40 of it's being split between email. So we're going to be nurturing people that have talked to us, and then some meta ads. And then we build a guide, as an example, of how to hire a great landscaper. Top 10 questions to ask when hiring a landscape contractor. That content can be either a blog post or a downloadable resource on a website. That's a really good ad for Facebook, because the people that click on it are actually in market.
So you
So
offer them something free to catch them.
yeah, and educate them. Like, a lot of
Yes.
times, we forget that we do this every day, and as a homeowner, it's their first time, maybe their last time. They don't necessarily know what to do to vet somebody. They don't necessarily know that they should call past projects. They should go knock on someone's door and say, hey, how was it working with this person? They should read all the Google reviews, the 1 stars and the 5 stars. Does the company have a Glassdoor rating? What's the staff say about the business? Are they on LinkedIn? How many staff do they have? Is the owner around or absentee? Like, there's a bunch of variables that someone could consider when trying to make a good decision. But as a
Mm.
landscaper, all you need to do is position the way you do things as the way to hire somebody. And assuming you're good at what you do, give people the 5, 7, 10 steps it takes to figure out who's good and who's not.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, let's visit paid search versus or you mentioned paid search and SEO overlap for best practices. So you mentioned paid search, Google search is a lot better for ads for landscaping business as opposed to Meta in certain scenarios. But where do paid search and SEO best practices kind of start to overlap there for you?
Yeah, that's cool. So ranking, for whatever term, has to do with letting Google know that you're an authority on the topic. Um, a Google ad done properly, has a quality score, like a high quality score. So every ad you run in Google Ads is given a quality score. It's a scale of 1 to 10. The more relevant your landing page is to your ad, and the more relevant the ad is to the search, the better the quality score. There's also user metrics that are involved with giving you a quality score, meaning when people come to your site, they don't bounce away. They don't just leave right away. So if your bounce rate's high on your landing page, your quality score goes down. If the average pages per visit from Google search goes up, time on site is strong, so 2 minutes, 3 minutes or higher, your quality score goes up. The only way you can make it so that people stay on your site is by giving them quality content. If you write garbage, you don't get people to stick around. If you don't have videos or resources for people to research or go through, then there's no reason for them to stay on the site. All that content or contextual content helps with ranking for certain key terms. And then the other thing is there's a landscape contractor is the highest value key term in 2023, was the highest value key term in terms of it bringing in larger jobs, like for design build specifically. Now, are you gonna rank number one for landscape contractor? You could probably in your area if you gave it 2-3 years and put some money behind it and some discipline. It's totally doable. It's not like you're trying to search for or be ranking for landscape contractor US wide or Canada wide. But there's other ways to look at it in terms of being more specific. Sometimes people are looking for retaining walls, we mentioned. Sometimes people are looking for gazebos, pergolas, outdoor kitchens. And so when doing keyword research, we want to find these high search volume, low competition keywords that we can build not only ad campaigns and landing pages around, but also blog content and core web pages, so that we're not necessarily fighting with everybody for the same thing.
That makes a lot of sense. And how do you go about for those landing pages, especially? At least when I'm doing my website, I identify a keyword that I want to rank for and put it in the title URL. And then I write a lot of content, and I also have YouTube videos that I put in there, and there's just a lot of content. Is that good, beneficial? Especially from an SEO perspective, time on site perspective. And then at the very bottom, I always have a contact form. And then in the top right, always a contact form link. Is that kind of best practice, especially for SEO purposes and getting ranked? Or do you see more and more people kind of leaning more towards like concise, very short amount of content, get to the point, and then lead form?
Well, I think less is more and more is more. So I want to be concise above the fold and in the first scroll, and I want to have somebody be able to fill out a form above the fold. So I don't want my main call to action to be anywhere someone has to scroll. And that's just about taking friction out of the buying process. If someone wants to buy, let them buy. I don't know if you ever seen that 40-Year-Old Virgin. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Remember the scene with Jonah Hill? He's trying to buy the shoes with goldfish in the heels from
Yes.
the eBay store.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'd like to buy these. He's like, that's not how it works. You got to go home and order them on eBay. He's like, but I have money and they're in my hand. I want to take them home and wear them. She's like, I know it's weird. And a lot of times we put friction into the buying process. And so what we need to do is eliminate clicks, eliminate friction. Amazon's the best, the buy now, swipe.
Right.
You just like it's a horrible how many people buy things when they shouldn't. But it's a great example of getting rid of friction. But then there are people that are like, people call them A-type personalities or dominant drivers. They want to get to the point and they don't necessarily need all the fluff and the detail. But there are people that are also thorough researchers who want to understand more about somebody. So as long as we give somebody who doesn't want a lot of information, everything they need at the top, we can fill the rest with a bunch of content that help people understand process, context, history, customer testimonials, experiences, videos. And so that's why I say less is more and more is more.
Got it. How do you find AI is going to affect content creation, especially written, just creating copy for Google ads and Facebook captions, things like that? Do you find it's already being used in the industry? And
Oh
do you
yeah.
recommend somebody using it to just copy and paste into their website for a landing page of some sort and have that done for them?
Yeah. So with a caveat though. So ChatGPT as an example, or Bard or whatever, any tool someone's using for AI writing is still stupid. Like it doesn't write well. It writes, it doesn't write well. The and you've probably seen a lot of headlines about prompt engineers. We're starting to see that um, if you're good at prompting these platforms, you can actually get really good content out of it. And so that's where and this is where I think the whole thing is going. So first of all, there are people using it poorly, and you can put it through an AI reader and you can see that it's garbage, and they're going to be penalized. Their ranks are going to get penalized. Google's not going to let that happen. If your site's full of, AI content, it's going to be able to check very easily. There's tons of AI readers that's being built in the algorithms. It's just not going to serve you well long term. But if I were to interview you about what you do, how you do it differently than competitors, why you do it that way, why it's important to you, understand the purpose of your company, how you want to describe your business as a person and a brand, so I can understand tonality, learn the top 5 questions or top 5 reasons that you do things the way you do them, and I build this epic prompt, and I say, okay, write a landing page for, let's say, outdoor kitchens as an example, with all of this information that came from Michael about how he rolls and what he does as a company, and then layer in these 3 main problems. People don't know who to trust. People want an outdoor entertainment lifestyle, and they don't know where to start. And they don't know how to get sports outside, as an example. That prompt is going to be well written, like that. What comes from that, and it's not AI detectable. I can show you a
Gotcha.
bunch of examples, but I think there's too many people using it poorly right now, and then they're going to just, not last. And then it's going to accelerate the ability to produce content. So I think we're going to see pricing go down for services over time. But I think we're in a bit of a window right now where a lot of entrepreneurs don't necessarily understand what's involved to get a blog or a landing page or a whole website written. And then the last thing is, if you're selling fee for service, meaning like hourly rates, then your prices are probably going to come down. But if you're still tied to results as a business, as a marketing company, then you don't necessarily need to mess with your pricing, because the results is what you're promising, which
Right.
is another reason why we've really moved that direction.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we can go on to the websites that you see, common mistakes that you might see with a website, or best practices with a website.
Yeah,
Just in general, anything that you can give our audience in terms of that.
yeah, for sure. Um, the biggest thing isn't necessarily the website. The website's just what shows it. Um, it's a lack of strategic positioning or niching. So the biggest mistake is everybody's a full service design, build, maintenance company. Now, if I find, as a customer who has never hired a landscaper before, I find 2 full service design, build, maintenance companies. Both of them have a 4.9 Google review on 53 reviews. What's the difference to me?
Mm. Nothing.
Price.
Right.
They both give me proposals. They both communicated well. They're both full service design build companies. One's 48 grand, one's 52 grand. I'm picking the 48 grand. Like, what's the difference? They both have good reputations. They're both doing good things. They're both the same company.
Right.
What we want to do is help people understand how to niche and how to become the choice, not a choice. And you can niche on a number of different kind of platforms. One is um, the type of work. So, for example, it could be the property type. We specialize in urban spaces. We specialize in estate homes, cottages. We specialize in a suburban geography. We understand the dirt better, the composition of the ground. Um, it could be the type of job. So we're the retaining wall specialists. We're the pool specialists. We're the outdoor kitchen specialists. It could be the type of job. One could actually be the type of customer. So we specialize in people that demand the highest service, people that can only um, people that expect only the best in terms of responsiveness, a white glove, everything's taken care of, no bother. There could be like, hey, we're the accessible. We make it so you can finance your projects. It's really simple. We can get started quickly. We do smaller jobs. So it doesn't really matter what the position is, as long as there is a position. And if anybody's checking it out, if you want to go to scotteckley.com, that's a great example of a client that positioned well. So Scott was in a position where he was getting all of his business from landscape architects or from architects themselves, and then they'd give him the job to spec, and then he'd get the gig, and that's how we grew his business. 2 years ago, those leads started to dry up, and he needed to start becoming more self-sufficient in terms of generating demand for the business. We went through the process, positioned him as a Seattle urban outdoor living specialist, and he's just cooking with gas. And it's beautiful because if you go to his website and you live in downtown Seattle, he is the person to choose versus a full service design, build, construction, maintenance company.
Mm.
If you live in a downtown urban environment, you can tell without a shadow of a doubt who's knows how to do it better. So that's the biggest thing is everybody's a full service design, build, construction, maintenance company, and they need to find a niche. Um, the other thing is they always talk about themselves, never about the customer. So if you go on any given website, I mean, you could pull up 10 landscape websites. Odds are you'd be able to swap out logos, swap out team members, and it's fine. We have a tendency to talk about ourselves. So this is what we do. This is the team that does it. We've been doing it for 25 years. Hire us. Um, Turns out people don't care about you. It sounds crass, but it's true. People care about one of two things: accomplishing their goals and solving their problems. So how do we help people understand that you understand their problem better than they do? Which, if you've niched down at some level, even if it's 3 core customer segments, you'll understand their problems better than them because you do it every day. Whereas I'm doing it for the first time as a customer, so I don't really understand what I need to consider when I'm doing this stuff. And then the other piece is that, well, what does the solution look like? Help me walk me through my problem state to my solution state. And how are you going to guide me through that process? What is it going to look like? People don't necessarily make it clear on what the sales process is going to look like. And we have this saying, everybody hates to be sold, but loves to buy. So the question becomes, how do we create an environment where people feel comfortable purchasing versus us having to sell? The best way we could do that is by demonstrating trust. You can't say things like, trust me. If I say to you, Michael, trust me, it elicits emotions of skepticism. It's just we're wired. We don't want to be sold and we don't want to believe anybody who says, trust me. So we can't say it. We have to demonstrate it. We demonstrate it with Google reviews, customer testimonials, a guided process, and hopefully people adopt a philosophy of diagnosis prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. A lot
Got
of
it.
times people will have these sales decks they'll walk up to houses for on the first visit to introduce the company. Let me show you our team and the past projects. And it's like no one cares. We have 2 ears, one mouth, use accordingly. So um, we need to understand our core customer and then demonstrate the problems they experience on the site. So when people read it, they go, that's me.
Yes. The choice, not a choice. I like that.
That
Be
is
the company
huge.
that is the choice, not a choice. Talking about Google reviews, coming back to Google, any unique ways that you've seen a company actually get Google reviews
Yeah.
into their business?
Team huddles once a month. If you get your name in a Google review, you get a $20 Amazon gift card. Every 30 days, the owner of this company has a stack of Amazon gift cards. I think they have just under 300 Google reviews now.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty self-fulfilling, right? You just let the team know if your name is on a Google review, I give you a $20 gift card. Some people get like 8, 10 gift cards on just themselves. Google reviews are worth $20.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean,
Got
at
it.
the end of the day, though, you have to ask again and 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 again. There are some reputation management systems. Bird Eye, it's kind of clunky, but it works where you can put a list in and it'll send automated text messages and emails out to people. And then once they've done a Google review, it'll stop bugging them.
Ah,
So I think that's helpful. But long story short, it should be consistent and ongoing, not in spurts. If you get 15, 20 5-star reviews in a day or two and then nothing for 6 months, and then again, it looks spammy to Google. So just beware that it's better to have one or two a week all the time than it is to sprint 30 or 40 in a couple of days.
you've already mentioned that Seattle-based design build company. Do you have a company that came to you, or Intrigue in general, and they were just $2 to $5 million company or whatever their revenue was, and their marketing or their vision and their core values, all the strategy behind it was just in such shambles that you were able to point them in the right direction, get them going, and now they're a success story of some sort. Do you have any other stories in terms of that kind of turnaround of a business and what a marketing agency that specializes, especially in our industry, can do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most of them. Um, but for the most part, if you're at 2.5 or 3 billion, 3.5 million, that is successful.
Right, right.
So like we're not positioning ourselves as making people successful. We just make it easier for them to have more fun and make more money.
Got it.
So if you've got yourself to 3 million as a full service design build company, core values aren't necessarily in place. There's nothing really uniquely positioned about the business, but you're doing good work. You've been doing it for a long time. People trust you. You're out in the community. People know who you are. Like, that is successful. It also means that there's a room, like a lot of room to make it better. So we had this one company, and they did a really good job. Like, it wasn't necessarily evident, but they wanted to end the epidemic of screen time. So they help families with big boring backyards in like second home, estate home, cottage home type of environments, big boring backyards, turn them into like an engaging the five senses to get family units outdoors and kids off of screens. So they do stuff like, they put blueberry bushes next to pools, so kids can snack while they're outside, and it's full sensory, experience. In this case, they weren't necessarily articulating that.
Right.
When you got to their site, you didn't really see it. I mean, you could kind of get glimpses of it if you knew who they were, but it wasn't like front and center. Um, and now if you go, like, the whole site itself is still not managed by us, but the landing pages we've built for campaigns bring this to life in a big way. And so, I mean, they were doing their own Google ads, and they had a friend who built their site. That was pretty much it. The community involvement, pretty good grassroots stuff. And they came to us in 2022, summer 2022, and saw that on the horizon, the marketplace was about to soften. We're going to get more competitive, which, it did. So it gave us, 4 or 5 months to get ready for the next demand cycle, which, kicks in February, March. And yeah, I mean, now they're just rocking. I think it was like a 6-to-1 ROI on that campaign first year, and then they've renewed next year, and they're rocking. So, it's just about putting this process on top of companies that already have a bit of steam, so we can just kind of accelerate it.
Highlight what makes you unique, right? And coming back to the choice, not a choice. I like that quote. One more question before I show you my website and expose myself there to you.
Don't
Um,
expose yourself to me. That's all good.
uh, so shoot. It was on the tip of my tongue, and now I completely forgot it. So maybe we'll go to the website
Well, you were saying
before I.
something about be the choice, not a choice, something that you liked, and then there
Yeah, but it
was
was a complete, as per
you go
usual
a
with
different
my brain,
direction.
it was a complete right turn, and it
No
wasn't going to
worries.
go in that same direction. So
We'll get back
let
to
me,
it.
yeah, let me show you my website. See what you think. Rob, be as crass as you want to. Make me cry on this podcast, please.
It's not
Uh,
necessary.
I'm going to share my screen and show you. And for our audience listening, you can always go to our YouTube channel, see this as well. But you can also go to everafterlandscaping.com and be able to see what we're looking at here as well. Rob, immediate impressions, things that you would change in general.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's pretty solid. Okay, so the phone number is easily accessible. Um, you're talking about the customer in the homepage. So live happily ever after outdoors with friends and family, immersed in a living space that embraces your lifestyle. You may not know this, but you're going after a certain customer who wants friends and families versus other people who want to build sanctuaries. But that's good. This position. Your logo doesn't pop off of your hero image, and the hero image is actually quite dull. So I would want to brighten it up so it pops. Maybe even move your logo off the header image altogether because it's already there in the top left and it's super clear. The fonts for your main nav are difficult to read, especially the black on green. Get a quote. Um, I mean, it's pretty cosmetic stuff. Email us. I would never have. You can have it as it goes to a form, just because usually it goes to like an email address, but you don't know it came from the site when you get one. But I mean, like, overall, I'd say, an easy 7 out of 10, and it wouldn't take a lot to make it a 9.
Beautiful. Rob, anything in general that you think we haven't quite touched on in this episode that you think would be valuable to our audience?
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, I do have that question that came back to
Okay, go,
mind here.
go, go, go.
Bear with me here. Okay. How important is email marketing to a project-based business where their clients are, repeating customers under 2 projects per customer for sure?
Right.
How important is email marketing?
Well, it generates usually somewhere between 3 to 5 to 1 gross margin ROI. So I just, when done properly, and it can even just be a quarterly newsletter. Okay, there's a couple of things. First of all, everybody listening that isn't in maintenance, you're leaving a massive amount of money and value on the table. When you get into maintenance, you become recurring revenue, and now you're more attractive to a buyer who wants to buy your business when it comes time to sell. It also makes it so that you have predictable cash flow, all maybe year round, maybe like 8 months of the year. Please consider maintenance as an opportunity. Maintenance also leads to enhancements. When you're on someone's property and you see something degrading, you're getting paid to be there. It's like paid sales calls to go there and do service. And then you can let someone know that they might need, some work done on a patio, a driveway, whatever, and provide people opportunities to enhance their properties. For the love of God, do maintenance. So if you're not doing maintenance and you're doing just design build, sure, email doesn't necessarily have the same value because there isn't as much of a reason to stay in touch. So we'd recommend doing like a quarterly newsletter. The reason we find it really valuable is a couple of reasons. One is um, there's a lot of people that get in touch with you that don't buy right away. An email newsletter is a really simple way to offer value, and it's always value. It's always creating that environment of purchase. Here's tips for maintaining something. Here's what to look for if you've done a construction job to make sure it's being kept up properly. Things to look for if something's going to break down. Are there little cracks that are going to turn into big deals if we don't address them sooner than later? These are just random ideas in terms of tips of value you can put in an email. But if I do it once a quarter, and I've got, say, 400 people, I've been in business 10 years, that have done projects with me. I've got another 400 people that haven't. I've got a list of 800 people. I send an email once. You get someone like us to do it. It costs anywhere between $500 to $1,000 to send a good one, like HTML coded, delivers well, is mobile responsive, all that. So it costs you $4 or $5 a year to do that. You get one job that comes in for 25 grand. You get two jobs that come in for 25 grand. Like, that is not difficult. So yeah, I think email is massive. Not to mention, there's a huge opportunity to use automations on when people inquire. So if someone submits a quote, you can have a 4-step series of emails that goes out, says, "Hey, thank you. We got your request. Someone will be in touch within X period of time." Next email 3 days later, "Hey, so you may or may not be talking to somebody. If you're not, you can call us right now and someone will get on the phone with you. But I wanted to lay down what the process looks like working with us." Next one would be like, "Hey, there's some team members I thought you might want to be introduced to, senior people, leadership team, just to know that we're always going to be behind the project we handle." And last one, "Here's what a couple customers say. Let me know if you need anything." A lot of people don't even respond to inquiries in the space, which is insane. So if you're responding to them and you have this email sequence, it helps you stand out. So there's a couple of examples. Email is very useful
Got it.
and often forgotten.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rob, coming back to that question before I rudely interrupted you with that question, anything that we haven't touched on that you think would be helpful for a landscape project-based company in the marketing space?
Result tracking. We have a tool. It's a sales and lead tracking tool. If you want to email me, we set it up for people for free, 90 days, no credit card, no strings attached. Essentially, it's a puppy dog close, because once you have it, you'll never want to get rid of it. It's about $100 a month afterwards, but there's a tool that it makes it so that you can see every single phone call, every single form submission, who it came in by name, whether that lead was quotable or if it turned into a sales value. So it's almost a quasi like CRM. And if you email robert@intrigueme.ca, just say sales lead tracker or salt, and we can look at hooking it up for you. That's game changer stuff, because now there's just no more hiding behind, "Oh, we got you lots of impressions. Oh, your organic traffic is up." It kind of comes full circle back to the goal. How many leads do you want? How many qualified leads do you need to get the revenue growth that you're looking for? The goal should be one of those: cost per lead or cost per qualified lead. So I'm going to give you 50 grand. I need 100 qualified leads. I have a $500 cost per qualified lead threshold. If we're below that, I'm winning. If we're above that, we're losing. We go into a campaign review meeting 4 months into the campaign. I say, "Hey, Michael, we're at $600, 4 months in, not bad. 6 months in, we're at 450. We're doing pretty good. 8 months in, we're at 375. We're high-fiving. We're having a glass of wine or a beer together." I don't need you to tell me anymore how it's going, because I have visibility, myself as a marketer or myself as a customer.
Right.
That is the game changing necessity for people if they really want to sharpen their tools when it comes to marketing and sales. That's where they got to go.
And then finally, coming full circle here with my final question for you, Rob, asking more so about you, yourself, and your business. What's one thing that you're struggling right now in your business? And I ask this to every business owner that comes on the show, because no matter how big or small our businesses are, there's always something that's on our plate that we need to move past or to accomplish in our business. So, Rob, you yourself, what are you struggling with right now in your business?
I mean, right now we're in a really, really good spot, which I'm really happy to say. Our biggest challenge that we need to figure out how to do is break the bottleneck of customer onboarding.
Mm,
We can onboard maybe 8 to 10 customers a month,
gotcha.
and we should be able to do like 30.
Mm.
So we need to make the onboarding process a lot smoother for our team and for clients. Um, so I mean that's a big focus. We also have a big issue with service requests. So with the better part of 200 websites that we've built or host for people, we get the most random requests on an ongoing basis that pull away our core team from doing their core work. So building, like, it's called a triage process on like where cases should go and ticket requests should go. That's seemingly pretty insignificant, but it's actually a big deal for us. So that's a huge focus. The team right now is rock solid. Um, Recruiting and onboarding and coaching the team has been amazing. Our core values and purpose, direction of the company is pretty established, and we're marching to the same beat. So customers are happy. Things are clicking pretty good right now. You asked me that same question 2 years ago, I would have had a completely different answer. But we're in a nice position where we get to work on the business because we're not dealing with too many fires right now.
Awesome. Rob, thank you for your transparency throughout this episode, not holding anything back from our audience. I really do appreciate that. As well as if I could just say something for especially our audience, but Rob here listening to this, I have people in my life that know Rob, and they speak very highly of Rob behind his back. So that's a huge testament to Rob himself. People that definitely don't even need to speak highly of Rob, ex-employees of Rob, who definitely wouldn't need to speak highly of Rob, and they do. They speak very highly of him, of Intrigue. So, Rob, I did